children need to have a pious father who engages them, a pious father who engages them. It's not enough to just be pious. Engaging your children is the key part because there are many pious dads out there, fathers with the long beards and the misbahas in the hands, and who go to the mosque for all five prayers. Mashallah, these are all very, very admirable qualities. But some of these fathers may not be engaged with their children. They may not be asking their kids what's important to them. They may not be taking their kids out on outings that they enjoy and where they're going to be building bonds and memories with their parents. It's very, very important for dads to be involved. And I don't think enough fathers understand the power they hold over their children. I definitely think there's a wisdom in our religion as to why Islam is a patriarchal religion, why the religion does get passed down through the father. Um, I used to say that I don't have science to back me up when I say how important it is for a pious father to be engaging the children, but I actually now do have science to back me up. There's a book written by a man named Vern Bengston. He did this landmark study where he started it, I believe in either 1972 or 1974, and he ended it around 2004. So, like over the course of 30 years, he followed 2,000 people, Christian and Jewish families. He followed the children and the parents, met up with them every few years. And basically, what he wanted to see was what is it that the generation above does that causes the generation below to continue practicing the faith of the parents? So, whether it's Christianity or Judaism. And he published his reports in a book called Families and Faith: How Religion Gets Passed Down Through the Generations. And he has all these different factors that he came up with that are important. But the overwhelming factor that surprised him and many people is that the majority of the young people who continued being Christian and Jewish in the next generation, the majority of them had a father who was a practicing Christian or Jew and engaged his children. So they were pious, but they also engaged their kids. And, that was a groundbreaking study. And I think and I see it all the time amongst kids in my community. The kids who have a bond with their dads, it's something else. One time we had some friends who went on Hajj, and they had their kids stay with us. They had their kids stay with different friends. So, like 4 days with one set of friends, 4 days with another set of friends. So, these young boys were staying with us for like 4 days. And we were having dinner, and we were talking. The boys were talking about how all the different families are different, have different ways of doing things, different routines. And I said to one of the boys, I said, "Yeah, it must be interesting for you to see all these families who are all raising good children, mashallah, and are, want their kids to grow up to be good Muslims, but everybody has different ways of doing it." And this little boy said to me, "Yeah," he said, "I noticed in your home, in our home," he said, "I noticed that his friend, my son," he said, "I noticed he prays in Jamaat with Uncle Zishan, my husband." He said, "I noticed he prays with Uncle Zishan in Jamaat." He said, "But I'll change the name for privacy reasons, but he said in Rafiq's home, he said Rafiq's dad just walks into the bedroom at Fajr time, and he says, 'Rafiq, Fajr.' And he said Rafiq just jumps out of the bed, and they walk to the masjid together. They go to the masjid for Fajr prayer." And so I said to this little boy, "Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's not that easy to get up out in the cold and in the dark and go to the masjid and to pray Fajr." I said, "That's pretty impressive that Rafiq gets up without any kind of struggle." And this little boy said to me, "Yeah, but after Fajr, every morning after Fajr, Rafiq's dad, this is back before the boycott, but he said Rafiq's dad takes Rafiq to Starbucks for breakfast, and they have breakfast together at Starbucks." And he said, "I think that's why Rafiq's jumping out of bed." And I had to laugh. And, I don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the motivation was when Rafiq was a little boy, why he was jumping out of bed for Fajr. But the point was, having a light breakfast at Starbucks every morning, I'm sure it's not cheap, but the dad had decided he had a budget for that. And he had decided it was worth it to spend that quality time with his son after Fajr prayer every morning. And so this boy was growing up associating very positive memories with going to Fajr at the masjid with his dad. I know another young woman who's married now. When she was a little girl, her dad used to take her for brunch every Friday, and they would sit and talk. And, I'm sure when she was little, there was nothing super exciting to discuss. And it was probably just something the dad had to do in the week, like it was one of his things that he wanted to do. But as the years went by and the dad put this investment in his daughter shared more and more with him. And one time she told me that she told her dad that she was uncomfortable around a certain uncle in the community, an uncle who was actually her dad's friend. And the uncle hadn't done anything to her. There was nothing she could actually pinpoint, but it was this intangible feeling of discomfort she felt around him. And she said she told her dad, and she expected her dad to say, don't say that about him. And he's our friend, or he's your uncle, and he hasn't done anything to you, or have husna done. She thought he would make all these excuses. But instead, her dad said to her, honey, always trust your instincts when it comes to men. Always trust your instincts when it comes to men. And she said that always stuck with her. And when it came time to, sorting through her marriage proposals and figuring out who would be the right person for her to marry, she had her dad's voice in her head. But that took years of investment. It didn't happen overnight. And so fathers being involved in their kids' lives is huge. And the moms who don't have husbands for whatever reason, whether they're widowed or divorced or separated, or if they have a toxic relationship with their husband, even if they're still married, there are good quality men out there, mashallah. First of all, you have to do dua for them to be in your life and for them to be involved in your children's lives. They can take the form of uncles, they can take the form of older brothers, they can take the form of grandfathers, Islamic school teachers, Sunday school teachers, halakha leaders, um, good men who you admire the way they raise their own families. And don't be afraid to reach out and say that I want you to invest in my children as well, and be like a father figure for them. But obviously, first and foremost, a father figure should be a mehram, should be a grandparent or a paternal or a maternal uncle. And all relationships, we should keep a close eye on them to make sure that they are going in the direction that we want it to go in, and that our children are safe, inshallah.